What if I told you that a dying man's final words could change everything you believe about success, love, and what truly matters in life? What if those words were so powerful that they've already transformed thousands of lives, and today they're about to transform yours too? Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Chicago during the autumn of 1952, there lived a man named Theodore Blackwood. Ted, as everyone called him, was what society would consider the epitome of success. At 58, he owned 3 factories, a mansion on Lakeshore Drive, and enough money to last several lifetimes. His name appeared in newspapers, his opinion mattered in boardrooms, and his presence commanded respect wherever he went. But success, as Ted would soon discover, is a peculiar master. It feeds you everything you think you want while slowly starving you of everything you actually need. The first sign that something was terribly wrong came on a Tuesday morning in October. Ted was reviewing quarterly reports when the numbers on the page began to blur. Not the way they do when you're tired, but the way they do when your body's trying to tell you something your mind isn't ready to hear. He blinked hard, rubbed his eyes, and tried again. The blurring persisted, accompanied by a dull ache that seemed to originate somewhere deep behind his temples. Just stress, he told himself. The same lie he'd been telling himself for months about the headaches, the fatigue, the way food had lost its taste. I'll rest when the Henderson deal closes. But the Henderson deal came and went, and still, Ted felt as though he was slowly dissolving from the inside out. It wasn't until he collapsed during a board meeting 3 weeks later that he finally agreed to see Dr. Morrison, the family physician who had been urging him to come in for a checkup for the better part of 2 years. The diagnosis came swift and merciless: pancreatic cancer, advanced stage. 6 months, maybe 8 if he was lucky, and responded well to treatment. Ted sat in that sterile office, surrounded by diplomas and medical journals, and felt something he hadn't experienced since he was a child: complete and utter helplessness. "I need to call my wife," he said, though the words felt foreign in his mouth. When was the last time he had actually spoken to Margaret about something other than social obligations or household logistics? When was the last time they had shared a meal together without the evening news filling the silence between them? "I need to see my children," he continued, though even as he said it, he realized he couldn't remember the last time he had seen them either. Robert was somewhere in California, pursuing what Ted had always dismissed as that photography nonsense. Sarah lived just 40 minutes away, but might as well have been on the moon for how often they spoke. Dr. Morrison handed him a prescription for pain medication and a list of oncologists. But what Ted really needed couldn't be prescribed or purchased. He needed time, not more time to live, though that would have been welcome, but time to understand what living actually meant. That night, Ted sat alone in his study, surrounded by the trophies of his success: awards, photographs with important people, contracts worth millions of dollars. He picked up a silver paperweight, a gift from the Chamber of Commerce, and for the first time in decades, really looked at the inscription: "To Theodore Blackwood for outstanding achievement in business excellence." Outstanding achievement in business excellence. He set the paperweight down and laughed, though there was no humor in it. He had spent 35 years pursuing outstanding achievement in business excellence. And what did he have to show for it? A wife who planned her days around his absence, children who stopped calling because he was always too busy to talk, and friends who were really just business associates wearing friendlier masks. The revelation hit him like a physical blow. He hadn't been living, he had been performing. Every day for decades, he had woken up and performed the role of Theodore Blackwood, successful businessman, while the real Ted, the man who once wrote poetry, who used to spend hours reading to his children, who fell in love with Margaret because of the way she laughed at Charlie Chaplin movies, had been slowly suffocating under the weight of expectations and ambitions. Over the next several weeks, Ted began a different kind of work. Instead of contracts and deals, he started working on letters. Not business correspondence, but real letters. The kind people used to write before efficiency became more important than connection. He wrote to Margaret, telling her about the dreams he'd abandoned and the fears he'd never shared. He wrote to Robert, apologizing for dismissing his artistic pursuits and asking about his latest exhibitions. He wrote to Sarah, acknowledging that he had missed most of her childhood while chasing promotions and profit margins. But the letter that would become his legacy, the one that would outlive his factories and his fortune, was the letter he wrote to strangers, to anyone who would listen, to you. As Ted's condition worsened and his time grew shorter, he realized that his greatest regret wasn't the money he wouldn't make or the deals he wouldn't close. His greatest regret was that it had taken a terminal diagnosis to teach him how to live. And more than anything, he wanted to spare others from learning this lesson the hard way. So on a cold December morning, just 3 weeks before he died, Ted sat down at his old typewriter, the same one he'd used to write love letters to Margaret 40 years earlier, and began typing. His hands shook from the medication, and he had to stop frequently to rest, but he persevered. This was the most important document he would ever produce. To whoever finds this letter, he began, I want to tell you something that took me 58 years to learn, something I wish someone had told me when I was younger and thought I had all the time in the world. He went on to write about the trap of always waiting for the right time to live fully, how he had spent decades telling himself he would travel with Margaret after the next big deal, would attend Robert's art shows after the busy season ended, would teach Sarah to drive after he finished the factory expansion. Tomorrow became next month became next year, and next year became never. Success, he typed, is not about what you accumulate, but about what you appreciate. It's not about being remembered by thousands, but about being truly known by the few who matter most. I spent my entire life building an empire, but I forgot to build a life. Ted wrote about the danger of confusing motion with progress, of mistaking busy for important. He described how he had convinced himself that working late every night was a sacrifice he made for his family, when in reality, it was a sacrifice he made of his family. He had been so focused on providing for their future that he had stolen their present. The letter continued with Ted's hard-won wisdom about relationships. Love is not a reward you earn for being successful, he wrote. It's a gift you give and receive in the ordinary moments. I missed 10,000 ordinary moments with my wife and children because I was waiting for extraordinary circumstances that never came. He wrote about regret, not the dramatic movie script kind, but the quiet, persistent ache of wishes unspoken and chances not taken. The conversations I avoided, the risks I didn't take, the places I didn't go. These absences have shaped my life far more than any of my achievements. But perhaps the most powerful part of the letter was Ted's plea for others to recognize the signs he had ignored. If you're reading this while telling yourself you'll slow down next year, if you're postponing joy until circumstances are perfect, if you're saving your real life for later, please stop. Later is not guaranteed. Later is not even likely. This moment, right now, is all we ever truly have. Ted sealed the letter and gave it to Dr. Morrison with specific instructions. It was to be shared, copied, and distributed to anyone who might benefit from reading it. He wanted his mistakes to become someone else's guidance, his regrets to become their roadmap to a different kind of life. Theodore Blackwood died on January 15, 1953, surrounded by his family. In his final weeks, he had accomplished something more meaningful than any business deal. He had reconnected with the people who mattered most. Margaret held his hand as he passed. Robert flew in from California to spend Christmas with his father for the first time in 5 years. And Sarah, now understanding why her father had always seemed so distant, forgave him completely. The letter Ted wrote found its way into newspapers, was read at churches, and was copied by hand thousands of times before the age of photocopiers. It passed from friend to friend, parent to child, stranger to stranger. People kept copies in their wallets, on their refrigerators, in their Bibles. It became one of those rare pieces of writing that transcends its time because its truth is timeless. Now, decades later, as you finish reading these words, you face the same choice Ted wished he had made years earlier. You can close this story and return to the busyness that feels so important, or you can pause and ask yourself the questions that really matter. When was the last time you truly connected with the people you love? What dreams have you postponed for practical reasons? What would you regret not doing if you knew your time was limited? Ted's letter reminds us that we don't have to wait for a diagnosis to start living deliberately. We don't have to nearly lose everything to realize what we already have. His final gift to the world was this simple but profound truth. The life you want isn't waiting for you in the future. It's available to you right now in this moment, if you have the courage to choose it. What will you choose? Will you let Ted's hard-earned wisdom guide you toward a life of deeper connection and authentic purpose? Or will you continue sleepwalking through your days, saving your real life for later? The choice, as always, is entirely yours. But remember, later is not promised to any of us. Take action today. Call someone you love. Say the words you've been saving for the right moment. Choose presence over productivity, even if just for an hour. Honor Ted's memory by living the life he wished he had lived while there was still time. What's one relationship you could invest in today? What's one dream you could take a small step toward right now? Share your thoughts below. Let Ted's story inspire not just reflection, but action. Because the most beautiful tribute to a life cut short is a life lived fully while we still can.